Can we please just have a moment of silence to pay respects to our fallen Mugiwara, Frankie and Usopp? You fought hard, Frankie. You fought extremely well, Usopp. And I must say, I no longer hate you. Thank you. Your sacrifices will not be in vain. I shall construct a statue in your honor, right next to Uso lands. Anyways, guys, let's get back onto this. Karasi here from the Otaku Lab with another review for the latest One Piece manga chapter, chapter 742. This was quite a nice chapter, very dramatic, a lot of things happening, not a lot of action per se, but a lot of history in this chapter, a lot of questions asked. It was really nice. Each page was very informative, which was good to see. So let's just get started on this review. Basically, with the first chapter, we find out about Kairos' 3,000 matches, 3,000 fights, and 3,000 wins. He did not lose one match in his entire reign in his Colosseum. He is basically the god of the Colosseum. Kairos, the god of the Colosseum, is what we shall call him from now on. His last victory was against King Riku, going into the stadium as he is now as Ricky. And he defeated him, and also it was Kairos who trained Ricky right now in battle. So Ricky is basically, King Riku is basically using Kairos' techniques in this Korea Colosseum battle that we're seeing now in the anime. All of these techniques that look similar to Sorrow and Haki and things like that, Kairos actually taught those to King Riku. And then continuing on from there, we have King Riku says to Kairos, you know, you fought hard, you fought well, you're no longer a barbarian, you're no longer a beast, the people recognize you here, you're one of us, you're a human now. So basically he gives King Riku gives Kairos the opportunity to be a leader in the Riku army. So basically a year later, at the age of 25, Captain Kairos becomes the leader of King Riku's army. He is the captain of the King Riku army. So yeah, at the age of 25, it's pretty impressive. And we find out about the girl he falls in love with. At the start, she really paid him no mind, paid him no heed. She just thought he was still a barbarian with no manners, just vulgarity, basically, all of that kind of stuff. And her name was Scarlet, and she does not really take a liking to Kairos at the start. But then one day Scarlet gets kidnapped, and who comes to rescue but good old Captain Kairos. I was about to call him Prince because, you know, basically the whole prince saving the princess because she is a princess. But yeah, Captain Kairos comes to her rescue, and after that day she falls in love with him. She starts cooking for him and things like that, which like that was in the chapter, I guess, but like there was really no need for that. But yeah, she falls in love with him, and then even though they're not allowed to get married, she goes to her father that if she cannot marry him, she'll kill herself. So the king agrees to fake his daughter's death, Princess Scarlet's death, in order for Captain Kairos and Princess Scarlet to go live basically happily ever after on a hill far away on the skirts of Dressrosa. And basically that's what they do for the time being. And then they have a daughter, and her name is Rebecca. So they have a daughter, Rebecca, and well, basically, you know the story of Rebecca from there. You know, she goes and fights in the Colosseum, da-da-da-da-da. But yeah, anyways, back to the chapter. So they have the daughter, Rebecca, and basically a few months after they have the daughter, Rebecca, a few days, I'm not 100% sure on that timeline, Doflamingo the dog, he comes back and he decides to take Dressrosa for himself by framing King Riku for killing his men, and etc. etc. So Kairos sees this happening in the village, and he goes down to greet or kill Don Flamingo, but Don Flamingo ends up putting him in Kairoseki chains, even though Kairos has no devil fruit. Obviously, that just shows how much to the extent that Don Flamingo feared Kairos' known power. At the start, Don Flamingo wanted Kairos to join his army, but Kairos obviously refused that offer, so Don Flamingo obviously wanted to kill him. And now it is basically that's the page where it gets interesting. We find out why Soldier Son, Kairos, only has one leg. In order to save King Riku, with his bare hands, I shit you not, his bare hands, he rips his leg from his body. Yes. Imagine doing that yourself. Ripping your own fucking leg from your body. That would kill. But like, yeah, you know, he's obviously motivated enough, he's devoted enough to save his king, to risk his life for his king. And then basically, so after he rips his leg from his body, he goes in to save King Rico and then launch an attack at Don Flamingo. That doesn't go quite as you planned, because Sugar just comes in out of nowhere and just turns him into a toy, and Soldier Son is born. But he still remains some of his strength and speed, etc., and he's still able to pick up King Riku in a flash and then just escape from the King Riku's, or well, now Doflamingo's castle. And then we continue to find out who killed Scarlet, in fact, and that was a matter of fact Diamante. That was a nice little piece of information to know. And so yeah, so Diamante killed Scarlet right in front of Kairos' own eyes. Yeah, Kairos was able to do nothing about it. You know, he'd be feeling pretty shitty about that. And also seeing as Scarlet did not remember Kairos, you know, he'd be feeling pretty down on himself. And that also goes to, it makes a little bit more sense, because Kairos did say to Scarlet that to go and meet in the rose fields, to stay hidden in the rose fields. But obviously, seeing as Kairos was turned into a toy, Scarlet would have forgotten that promise and then would have rushed to the castle to go and find King Riku, and ended up being shot by Diamante. So those turn of events, it's pretty interesting to see how that all panned out. It was really all quite nice. And then moving on from there, we have we see a few pages of Frankie. Like, it's not really a battle, it's just basically Frankie flat on the ground in front of Senor Pink with his Sui no Mi fruit, the ability to swim through any solid matter. So that would have been a tough battle for Frankie. It was Senor Pink and his like other 30 henchmen versus Frankie, and unfortunately Frankie lost to them. But what can you really do? And then so that part, but Frankie's really whole objective was just to hold Senor Pink back and let Usopp do what he really needed to do. And hopefully Usopp did do what he needed to do, but more on that later. So I'm continuing on from that. It just moves on to how Diamante is basically, they're in the Colossino with Sabo is versing Jesus Burgers. I call him Jesus Burgers, like Jesus, but yeah, that's his name anyways. I don't really know how to pronounce it, but that's his name. And so yeah, onto that with basically just one page with Jesus Burgers fighting Sabo, and Sabo dodging all of Jesus Burgers' attacks. And there was a little bit on how if Jesus Burgers keeps on attacking with his elbow and his like that air blast or whatever he does with that, if he keeps on attacking like that, then the Colosseum is basically going to shatter. Also, some of the guards of the Colosseum say. And Diamante keeps on teasing Rebecca about how he killed her mother. And then you have Bartolomeo. Like, Bartolomeo is probably like one of my most favorite characters in this arc. Like how he's such like a fangirl for Luffy, and how he calls Cavendish cabbage bitch, and I just found that hilarious, that pun. That was really cool. But yeah, Bartolomeo is easily of this arc is one of my favorite characters. I really do hope that he joins the Straw Hat crew. But anyways, back onto the chapter. So yeah, he's doing a little bit of teasing, and you have Bartolomeo there protecting Rebecca. So it's basically the whole Colosseum is 5-man battle out. It's basically Rebecca, Bartolomeo, and Sabo versus Jesus Burgers and Diamante. Who will win? I really don't know, but I kind of have high hopes for it being Bartolomeo or Sabo. Bartolomeo is actually really quite strong. I reckon if he had Haki, he'd be stronger than, like, he'd be incredibly strong. We did see at one point in time when Sabo came into the arc, he basically brushed Bartolomeo aside like he was like nothing, which is really weird. Also, if Bartolomeo, like I heard some people asking, you know, who will win in the fight between Bartolomeo and Luffy. Obviously Luffy's the Bartolomeo's barriers wouldn't do anything against Luffy because Luffy's made out of rubber. So if he hit them, his elbow would just hit it and then bounce straight back. But it'll just like turn into like rubbery matter, not solid or hard matter or anything like that. And then finally, the last page, or just before we discuss the last page, we have like the second or third last page, how we have Soldier Son and Luffy. They're talking about how like Soldier Son was notorious, and Soldier's basically like to Luffy, thank you for helping me out and things like that. And then you have like this one badass moment of Luffy when Soldier asks Luffy, I heard you were a pirate, and then Luffy's like, is there a problem about that? And then Soldier's like, no. it's really cool that you're a pirate because I'm notorious as a matter of fact myself. The fact that we're working together for the same goal is just really awesome. And then Luffy's just like, yoo-hoo! And then we also, because they're all, so Luffy, Rebecca, no, Luffy, Violet, and Soldier Sun, they're on the second floor waiting to ambush Don Flamingo. It's really interesting though, because like obviously Don Flamingo doesn't have that that haki that allows him to sense other people. Otherwise, he already would have sensed them by now. So that's a one-up that Luffy has on Don Flamingo. So yeah, we have they're on the second floor, and then on the first floor there's a group of enemies heading up to the second floor because Violet left the blood trail. Stupid girl. And now the last page. Usopp, I respect you heaps. You fought hard, fought bravely. Unfortunately, you lost, and he is lying there, bloody, broken nose as usual, as he always has, and he's about to die. But I mean, really, looking at it, I really thought he would have had more of a chance, as I discussed it in last week's chapter with his shurikens being explosive or something like that. There were of none the like. It didn't even really show us the fight. It just showed us the, his Satsumi Doroboshi shuriken, and then today in this week's chapter it just shows us him dead, bloody on the ground. He's not dead, but he's bloody on the ground with a broken nose. And then Sugar makes the biggest mistake of her entire life. This Tabasco, Hisatsu Tabasco Boshi, or whatever Usopp calls it, it's basically like obviously Usopp made it, so he's going to make it out of like the world's chilliest chili. It's going to be like on a Richter scale of 1 to like 1,000. Like I'm talking about earthquakes here. Swallow that. You've got tsunamis and volcanoes and shit. So Sugar picks up this Hisatsu fucking drop, this poisonous grape as she calls it, and she's about to feed it to Usopp, and she does feed it to Usopp. But then as she forces Usopp to swallow it, his head basically explodes. Like he doesn't die, but you've got his eyes coming out of his head, his tongue disfigured, and he just looks like something out of a horror movie. And he basically puts the fear of God into Sugar, the fear of God so far into Sugar that she collapses and faints. Yes, Project SOP, finally Project SOP was successful. We finally have Sugar fainting, which is basically what these whole 5 weeks worth of chapters have been leading up to. Sugar unconscious, fainting, so that every single toy in the factory can return to their human form. And not only that, but whilst the Tontatas were yelling out Usopp win, Usopp win, Usopp win, Dagmar, Cavendish, and all of the other people who were in the vicinity that were also toys vowed to give appreciation if they were turned back into humans via Usopp's efforts, let's say. So now that they have been turned, theorizing now that Sugar is fainted, because that's what they hope it'll do. When Sugar faints, they'll all turn back into toys. So now that she's fainted, and I'm hoping everyone gets turned back into toys, there's going to be like a massive rebellion in Dressrosa. Like it's going to be like everyone working with the Straw Hats, and then the Straw Hats and everyone working to like kick like everyone in like all of the Don Quixote family versus the Straw Hats versus everyone else. It's just going to be insane. I can't wait for the next chapter. But yeah, Sugar is finally unconscious. She's finally incapacitated. She's finally fainted. Project SOP was successful, and the chapter has finally come to an awesome end. Like with the Project SOP, I'm just like, yes, finally, obviously it's done. Like can't wait for next week's chapter. It's going to be insane. So that's about it, guys, for my review, discussions, and theories of this week's chapter for One Piece chapter 742. I hope you guys liked it. Any thoughts, theories, comments, or questions you may have, just leave it in the comment section below and I'll be sure to get back to you. But before I go for the day, who is keen for Fairy Tail starting on the 5th of April? Because I sure as hell know I am. So guys, if you like this review, hit that thumbs up. If you'd like to see more, subscribe. And for Fairy Tail, get on it, 5th of April, make sure you're there. And as always, guys, as always, thanks for watching.